Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, let me tell you a bit of a story. Back in August last year, I bought a automatic Suzuki Alto 2006 with around 40,000 miles on the clock for £900. Small automatic cars always sell. It's the sort of thing that I'm always asked for. Hey Matt, you haven't got any small autos, have you? My mum's just, or my daughter's just, or you know, all that sort of stuff. So it's never something that I turn down. I always say yes. And I thought, £900, I can't go wrong. I figured I could spin this one around quickly, do a quick service, MOT on it, whatever else it needs, give it a clean up, and then it would be worth double that easily. Have a look for yourself on Auto Trader. There are very few autos on there for under £2,000. Now this era of Suzuki Alto is a very basic car, but they're quite reliable. It reminds me of the old K10 Nissan Micra. I'll be honest with you, when I agreed to buy this car, I couldn't even picture what an Alto looked like. I know the later ones from 2008, 2009 onwards were exactly the same as the Nissan Pixo. I've had a fair few of those and they're quite cheaply built, but they are cheap to repair, cheap to run and quite dependable little cars. Anyway, that was all the way back in August and we're now in the middle of April. So, well, actually, I better just roll the clip. Here's what happened. Well, we're here. It's in a nice blue colour. You know what, parked next to the old Nissan Navara, it just looks like a toy car. Looks like it should have a key on the back that you wind it. Right, let me do a vehicle check then. So, as always, I'm going to go to carvertical.com. This will tell us if the car's ever been stolen, outstanding finance on it, ever been involved in any accidents, all that sort of stuff. But it's really important that you do this before you buy a car. Type in the vehicle reg, which is Mike Delta 06, Bravo Delta Victor. Check vehicle. This now is checking databases in dozens of countries. If you click the link below, by the way, in the video description, you'll get 10% off each and every vehicle check that you do. All you need to do is click the link below and use the promo code HIGHPEAK. It just takes a few minutes, but it's really crucial that you do this before you hand over any of your hard-earned money. There's so many dodgy cars out there, you really don't know what you're buying. Now we've only got one key and it's a copied key. And I thought we had remote central locking, but it's just a key finder. We've also got quite a cool little key ring, look. Is that right? View report. So it is a Suzuki Alto. The mileage is fine. It's never been tampered with. It's not stolen. Never been involved in any accidents and no outstanding finance. So we are clear on all fronts. It was manufactured in January 2006. Had its first MOT in 2009. This has got all the previous MOT history as well. So a few advisory items there. Let's see what the mileage is. It's currently got an MOT until December this year, with a couple of advisory items. So both rear shock absorbers slightly corroded, coil spring on the rear slightly corroded, exhaust outer cover corroded, offside rear brake pipe corroded, and near side front shock absorber lightly corroded. So just general corrosion really on a 16-year-old car, which I think is what you'd expect. Here we go, mileage, right. Oh, it is nice and low. So it has only done 43,000 miles. At its last MOT, it done 43,400, and it's only done a couple of thousand miles a year, so that's just what you want to see, really. It's got an approximate market value of $1,660. Now, I think it's worth a bit more than that, to be honest. It is a 2006 petrol automatic Suzuki Alto hatchback. It also gives you a bit of a checklist, this, like common issues, things to look out for, and the number one thing here is severe rust underneath. So that's true of any Japanese car, to be honest. We seem to be the same. Right, let's go and have a look around it then. Right, let's have a walk around it. Looks tiny, look at the size difference. Well, straight away, the handle for the boots is broken. I'll be able to get a new one on the internet somewhere. A couple of little scrapes there on the back. Someone's fitted parking sensors too. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have had those. Tiny little wheels, decent tread. That's the good thing with, oh, it's another harmonic. I had one of those recently on something. This is the good thing with cheap cars like this, or small cars. A new tyre, I imagine, is about 25 quid. Just so easy and cheap to keep on the road. And we've got an evergreen on the front. Do they match at least? Yep, so we've got evergreens on the front, with quite a bit of tread. And harmonics on the back. Have we got a matching harmonic? No, we've got an odd one. Auto Does that say auto grill? Auto grip. That looks quite old actually. Might get that replaced. Let's have a look inside then. Well, it looks very clean actually. They're just so simple and straightforward, these cars. What have we got then? We've got a, look at the old, it's proper old Japanese automatic gear selector. Got a watch there. There's no particular value, I don't think. Some sort of notepad of some description. Got a Clarion radio, look at that. Has it ever been smoked in? What do you think? Maybe once. Look at all the controls there. Feels much older than a 2006 car, this. I think, they're those, right, I think they're those microwave beanbag things when you've got aches and pains. Just using my skills of detection there, I think there's been owned by an elderly person. Okay, so we've got a nice plain steering wheel with no logo on. It has done 43,000 miles. Radio, what are we on? Imagine FM. Turn that off then. Okay. Will she start? Of course she will. Not sure what engine this is. Is it 1.1, 1.2? Be a small thing, won't it? Got electric windows, which both work. The door cards are so thin. Really feels like I'm in a toy car, like some sort of golf buggy. But it is a 4-seater. I'm really impressed with this for £900. I'll order a set of mats for it, I think. Turn that off. I should have checked the levels really first, shouldn't I? So let's have a look. Oh, that opens the boot then. Boot, fuel, bonnet. Perfect. Let's have a look for the service history. Right. Oh, we've got some treasures in here. Bible there. You never know when that's necessary, do you? Spectacles. Here we go. Suzuki. 1.1. There we go. Does it have any service history? I think it will do. These are the kinds of cars which are always looked after. Although saying that, we're running out of books here and haven't found it yet. Ah, there we go. Right. How many do we think? If it's done 40, I think it's been serviced 5 times, this car. Okay. Well, that was a good guess actually, wasn't it? So it has been done Colin Appleyard, Suzuki dealer, at 5,000 miles. Then they did it again at 12. Then Lucas Fiat in Stockport did it at 17. Then it was done at 20. And then it was done again at 26 in 2013, 9 years ago. Okay, so I'll give it a service then. What was the mileage then? 26. Okay, right. Well, given all the things that I've found in it so far, I would say this car has never been driven over the speed limit, ever. Rennies? Oh, I'll keep that. Can't beat some Partex treasure, can you? Shopping list have we got? Right. Well, that is as good as full service history in my mind, isn't it? Very good. Let's have a look under the bonnet then. The old 16-valve Maruti. Is that, I could be wrong now, is that Indian Maruti? I think it is, isn't it? So this will be the same as some other car, won't it, with a different badge. A few little spots of rust, but nothing serious. This one's a good old clean. It's just so simple, this. Look at the size of the battery. Tiny. Have a look at the old oil level, shall we? Or the colour of the oil, actually. Well, that looks nice and clean. That doesn't look like it's 9 years old, does it? Well, there's nothing much to see there, is there? We've got a broken aerial there. In the back, what have we got? We've got some underlay from somebody's hallway. Not even sure what that is. Some de-icer. Dunlop spare there. Jack. Well, there's no rust in there, is there? Well, that's all pretty good so far. I think I'll just take this around the block and make sure that it engages gear. And then, not sure what to do with it next. Probably take it for a service and MOT. Right, let's drive it anyway. We've got a quarter tank of fuel. I would say that is the sound of some aftermarket parking sensors. Well, it engages gear nicely. Bit of a thud there. This thing feels tiny. The brakes work, the steering's nice and light. Very easy little car to use, this. I really like this kind of car. It is just no frills motoring, cheap and cheerful. You just know that it'll do 40 miles per gallon wherever you go, and it'll never let you down. A few years ago when I was living in Spain, a mate of mine bought, well, it wasn't one of these, it was a Nissan Micra, a 1996-97 automatic Nissan Micra. At the time he had a BMW X5 and a Porsche Boxster, but just wanted something that you could leave in pub car parks basically, or on the seafront, something that he didn't care about. So we bought this little bright red Nissan Micra automatic, and we all used it. It was great fun. Sometimes it's quite nice to go back to basics. Not much going on at work today by the looks of it. Right, we've got no air conditioning. We do have a nice digital clock though. You know what, as a little car just to drive from A to B in, this is alright. It does make you feel quite vulnerable when you're on the road though. I feel like I'm in a little Tykes Cozy coupe. Almost feel like when it starts to struggle up the hills, I could pedal this myself. Well, I think I've done all right there. £900 for this. Like I say, MOT, service, and good clean set of mats. Touch up the paintwork. There's some profit here. This is exactly the kind of thing that people always ask me for. In fact, you know what? I've just had a brainwave. My brother's girlfriend is after a small auto. She lives in the city centre, so she never bothered doing a driving test, and she wants to start but doesn't want to drive a manual. So this could be ideal. There's my profit gone out the window, but it's nice to be nice, isn't it? Although I've got a feeling I'll be roped into giving the lessons. It's quite a decent little thing, this. I'm quite enjoying using it. I rented something very similar to this in Barbados a few years ago. They take the body off the car and put on some kind of like fiberglass shell, basically, a bit like a beach buggy. And that's what they rent out to all the tourists. Which admittedly does look ridiculous, but for bombing around the island, you can't beat it. Just noticed my indicator's on the right hand side, like an old British car. Well, this box is nice and smooth actually, and it feels very nippy. I bet it only weighs about 800 kilos or something, this car. Even sounds like a toy car. Right, I think what I'll do then is send some pictures over to my brother's girlfriend, see if she wants it, and I'll get it serviced and MOT'd in the meantime. I shall catch up with you shortly. Hang on a second, I've just realised we haven't tried the horn, have we? All little cars like this always have some sort of comedic horn. And it doesn't disappoint, does it? What a great little car this is. I imagine the engine's chain driven, so it'll probably never go wrong. There's just very little to go wrong with the whole car. Well, 6 or 8 months have passed since I started off this video, and quite a lot has happened. I took the little Suzuki down to my mechanics for a service and an MOT, which never actually happened. It was just parked up in my mechanic's yard whilst I was waiting for my brother's girlfriend to get a provisional licence. Several months passed and that actually never happened. Then they broke up, which I'm sorry to say, and then the car just sat there. Nobody seemed to be interested in it in the slightest. It never had its service or its MOT because I just kept pushing work in front of it. Work was more important to me. So it just sat there, collecting dust. Well, actually, worse than dust, it got very mouldy. It was there all over winter, and a couple of weeks ago when I finally decided to do something with it, it was a right state. Have a look at these pictures. It had mould and green stuff growing everywhere. It was a rolling biohazard. I knew I had to do something with it. In fact, that reminds me, right at the start of my buying and selling career, one of my colleagues, who's still my close colleague today, gave me a piece of advice which I'd like to pass on to you guys. It might not seem that important or that groundbreaking, but in the world of used cars, it really is. He told me all those years ago, if you ever have a problem with a car, deal with it on the day. Even if that means taking a loss, just get rid of it. Deal with it on the day. Buy the part, buy the engine, buy the gearbox, whatever's wrong with it, fix it there and then. Don't leave it in the corner of your yard collecting dust. If you leave a car sitting, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Just deal with it on the day. Take a loss, wipe your mouth and move on. And I do tend to do that. I do tend to live by those words, but occasionally something like that little Alto slips through the net. Anyway, last week a mate of mine called me and he said, listen, I've got a pal of mine who's after a cheap automatic. Have you got anything? So I thought, have I? So I went down to my mechanics with a couple of chamois and wet rags and tried to get all the mushrooms off the steering wheel and all that sort of stuff. Thinking about it, somebody in Amsterdam would have loved that car, wouldn't they? I cleaned off all the worst bits so I could at least drive it, jump-started it, and then took it to the car wash and left it there for a mini valet. They must really hate me there at this point. Anyway, it cleaned up really well, so I sold it to my pal for £1,100. So it wasn't the end of the world. I still made, what did I pay for it? Can't even remember now. I think I paid £900 for it, so I still made £200 6 months later. It isn't great business, but it's more than I would have got from an ISA, isn't it? I think he then cleaned it up properly, gave it a service, gave it an MOT, and then sold it to his mate. So, really, I was going to say everybody won, but I don't know whether that's true or not. So it's a bit of a sorry tale, isn't it? But I guess that's life. Relationships end, things break down, all that sort of stuff. So that's it. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Leave the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.